The most useless bus service in Singapore. Yes, it is quite objective, but in terms of waste of resources, this is the most useless one. I am going to briefly touch on fare box recovery rate. So the threshold for like rationalization is 30%, with a few exceptions. Obviously, 109 falls above the 30% rationalization threshold, which was why it was kind of strange that they actually picked this one to be truncated. Again, I don't even know how that proposal even made it past the early discussion stages. But yeah, I am not looking too. I don't feel too good about that one. If you're wondering, okay, I don't have the statistics, but kind of the reason why 167 was saved is because it's just slightly above 30%. Like right now, as it runs like 30-minute frequencies. Some services, despite their low farebox recovery rate, such as 400 or 156, this one used to be 8 to 11%, and 11% would be when when there are cruise ship arrivals. Then 400 would actually get demand. But then recently, I don't know why it somehow improved. And now 400 is no longer the bus service with the lowest farebox recovery rate. That title actually belongs to a CDS called 673. But here's the thing, those bus services like 673, they only run a few trips per day. Whereas when you're talking about stuff like this, or the one I'm going to be talking about, they run pretty much full day. And yeah, that's a reason why they tend to be more wasteful. This one, I don't really care because it's like short distance. These are like kind of long distance, and that's why it matters more. 673 is also long distance, but that one only runs like 2 trips during AM and 2 trips during PM. So I don't really care about that. This is also the reason why the longer trunk routes, they are targeted for rationalization. Again, they can only really target it if it falls below 30%. Anything that's above 30% are like exceptions. But yeah, 30% is like the general guideline. And just so you know, 36 also falls below 30%, but there is actually a reason to keep it. The reason is because, number one, Thomson East Coast Line only has 4 cars. And not just that, 36 gives you direct access to like outside the hotels, whereas the MRT does not. You still have to walk from the MRT station. And not just that, 36 has demand from Marine Parade and it has demand from Suntec. And nobody in their right mind is going to take Thomson East Coast Line to Marina Bay and then change Circle Line to Suntec. They would rather take 36 straight. And yeah, even 36 from Orchard with good traffic can actually beat Thomson East Coast Line. As in like if you're heading to like Marine Parade, of course. I mean, I'm just stating really briefly, but this one is a route that's like mostly catered towards like tourists or like people who work at Orchard Road as well as Suntec. But I mean, that's one of the reasons why this thing, there is still a reason to keep it. This one I'm gonna be talking about. This one, you just have to wait a few years until that area develops. So you don't really have to rely on like the cruise arrivals for this bus service to even get demand. But yeah. Anyway, this one is quite short. And this is the only bus service that serves like Thomson East Coast Line Station 19, 20, 21, 22, and that's the reason why the policy is that every MRT station needs to have at least one bus service outside, including Founders Memorial, which is why 11 and 158 are probably going to be extended down, but yeah. So on to the main topic. This one. I don't really remember my history very, very well, but it started off as like, I think it was like Ang Mo Kio Avenue 3 terminal, or is it 6? I don't remember, but it was like this place to this place loop. So the route is pretty much the same as present day, except that it looped at Tomlinson Road. And then over time, it got extended to Hougang, and then it got extended to Red Hill Bukit Merah interchange. And then there's also like Tanglin Road. Again, I don't know how to pronounce Tanglin, I'm sorry. Or Tanglin. And then for 132, I'm going to be naming some key areas that it passes by. So Henderson, obviously. And then Jamia Al Rabita Mosque. And then Red Hill, as well as like Far East Plaza, Stevens, and this is the one that saves the demand, as in like it saves the route from being completely rationalized. CJC, Catholic JC, and everything everything to the north of CJC is pretty much useless. And why is that so? Okay, I'm just gonna consolidate everything. From here to here, you have 145. Tanglin is technically the unique sector because 111 and 132, they do not have the same route. And then this one is shared with 105. This means that like 132 it's unique and not unique at the same time, because other services pretty much cover it in that sense. But even so, at the very least, this portion of 132 at least still gets some form of demand. Unfortunately, the reason why I said this service is like a huge waste of resources is because from CJC onwards, it goes Thompson, McRitchie, Thompson, McRitchie, Upper Thompson, and then Ang Mo Kio Avenue, okay, 1 and then 3, and then it goes all the way Hougang Avenue 2, then Hougang. Now this one small sector is actually like duplicated by 325. This big sector is, okay, this is Avenue 8, this is Avenue 10. This part doesn't really matter, honestly. Okay, cause it's also because from Ang Mo Kio interchange, you have 25 that takes you to this sector, and further down Ang Mo Kio Avenue 3, you have 55 as well, all the straight going bus services. And aside from that, from 8, Hougang Avenue 8 to Ang Mo Kio, let's just say this is Ang Mo Kio MRT, and then this is Ang Mo Kio Avenue 6. Pretty much there is already, okay, this is McRitchie. There is 74 that takes you over here like this. And then there is also another one that literally just duplicates 132 until McRitchie, and then it goes like Lorney Road. That is 165. That's the reason why this one, it will never get withdrawn or anything. At most, it'll just downgrade to become like OTA or like full single decker fleet once Cross Island Line is up. I don't think this one will actually get withdrawn or anything. There is 165 that literally just duplicates it. Not just that, you have from Ang Mo Kio MRT, I mean the interchange, You have 166 that literally clones the entirety of like 132 up till Whitley Road. So yeah, this is the reason why 132 on top, it's so useless. It's not even, it doesn't even have anything to do with like MRT for the most part. Okay, maybe at most Thompson East Coast Line. I'm not talking about Mount Pleasant. I'm talking about like, let's say from Upper Thompson to like Mayflower. Okay, it's not even really related to 132 at all. But here's the thing. This service, even without being affected by MRT, is already doing so poorly. And I mean really, really poorly. Okay, technically, you have Upper Thompson to Caldecott over here, and then to Stephen. Okay, pardon my stupid drawings, but Upper Thompson, Caldecott, and um, Stevens. Pretty much, it's like a clone of Thompson East Coast Line. And then beyond Stevens, obviously, there is a Napier and Orchard Boulevard, but for 132's case, it's Orchard Boulevard. Okay, maybe I'll just list them down honestly. Okay, Mayflower to a certain extent, Upper Thompson, Caldecott, Stevens, and Orchard Boulevard. So there is like, it's not a complete duplication, but there is like some degree of like indirect duplication with Thompson East Coast Line, which it maybe affected the demand of 132 like a little bit, but not too much. So even without Thompson East Coast Line as a whole, demand for 132 is it's just not good at all. Anywhere above CJC. And unless you're able to prove that there are many students from CJC that reside in Ang Mo Kio, Avenue 3, Avenue 1, Upper Thompson Road, unless you're gonna be able to prove that all the CJC students they live here, there is really no point in running this service. Okay, maybe like a 132M that like just goes here during school hours, and then this okay, dismissal times is not really that important, but maybe just a unidirectional school bus service for MOE school days. Maybe you could do that because I talked about 852 being a school bus service as well. So maybe you could implement this one just for this school if there is enough demand for it. Otherwise, they would just be better off taking this and then transferring to a 156. Okay, more of the other way around during dismissal. Going to school is more important. They have to be on time. So again, you could do some special departures for 132. And I mean special departures. So with that being said, look for 166. Technically the sector in between Novena all the way to McRitchie, Upper Thompson, and then Ang Mo Kio. Technically this thing, it's still important for Upper Thompson, but it's like when you look at the route as a whole, this is technically the most useless sector of 166. But the reason why it should stay is because, let's say you rationalize this one becomes the only bus service, so there is actually reason for it to stay. And then now I'm gonna explain why 156 is able to survive, despite it having like piss poor farebox recovery rate. So from Clementi, and then to Avenue 2 to Ulu Pandan, and then 6th Avenue. 6th Avenue is the reason why 156 doesn't get rationalized. And then obviously there's like Whitley, I mean CJC's over here, and then Thompson, McRitchie. If I were to like oversimplify it, this is a reason, and this is a reason why you cannot rationalize 156, because there are schools along Danyan and Bukit Timah as well. So essentially this thing, there's no harm running this one, as in like in this context there is no harm running 156 on weekends, but on weekdays 156 becomes kind of important for the students. And even if 132 is gone, like I've said, you still have 156 that takes you to like McRitchie, which is kind of like, I don't know, like a bus hub. You can transfer to a lot of bus services there. So as long as you have one bus service from, let's say, from here, and then from here to reach McRitchie, then you're good to go, honestly. And 156 also has this like added bonus. It is the only bus service from McRitchie that lets you access Bishan immediately, because as you know, 52 goes on to do that merry-go-round, and then 54 as well goes on to do that merry-go-round via Bishan Street 22. So 156 is actually the most direct one out of all of them. And then 156 is the only bus service from Bishan that goes to Ang Mo Kio Avenue 1, and then to Lorong Chuan, Boundary Road, then oh my god, to Lorong Chuan, to Boundary Road, Yio Chu Kang Link, Yio Chu Kang Road, because 53 at most takes you to Serangoon Central, and then 58 obviously it goes inside this kind of thing. You get what I mean. Lorong Chuan, Serangoon Avenue, 3, then 2, then Upper Serangoon Road. But this sector in between, how should I say it? It's this part is important for 156 because 156 is meant to be like a private estate bus anyway. You know, you could even use like you could even downgrade 156 to Enviro 100 EVs, like especially on weekends. On weekdays, maybe you would bring in the 12-meter buses during school hours, and outside of school hours, you can just use this kind of bus, I guess. But yes, Yio Chu Kang Road, there are like very few services that go in this general direction, and that's why 156 has to be kept. And not to mention, how do I say it? Okay, from this is the thing about being unscripted. Sometimes I have to like come up with stuff on the spot. So at the very least, up till at the very least, oh, no. Okay, you get what I'm trying to say. From Yio Chu Kang Road to Buangkok Green, and then to Buangkok, this thing shares a sector. Okay, it shares it until like the Buangkok Drive junction at least. Okay, by the way, this thing is gonna be no more. It's gonna be converted into 104, so it applies the extended stretch of Buangkok Drive and then up here. Okay, but yeah, ignoring that, this thing and this thing, these are the only two services that ply this sector. And how do I put it? 43 alone is not enough to. I know both of them, their frequencies are like kind of crap, but obviously one service is not alone to tank. So it's good to have another one. Anyway, they already cut 156 to Buangkok, so yeah, don't try to cut it anymore. So 156 is already as good as it is, despite the farebox recovery rate being low, because the unique sectors of 156, it allows Buangkok Green and all, a bus service. It allows them to access like Bishan, like kind of like the western areas. Not really western areas, but it's just direct connection for them that no other bus service like really offers. Because 156 is technically a west to northeast service, it's just slow, but at least the option exists. You don't have to take MRT. You don't have to like squeeze on Circle Line. You don't have to squeeze on Cross Island Line in the future. 156 doesn't really touch Cross Island Line except maybe Serangoon North MRT. But yeah, it won't get rationalized anyway. But this is the reason why 156 there is reason to keep it despite it not having so many passengers, because it's like a private estate bus service pretty much up till like Yio Chu Kang Road. 132, unfortunately, I cannot say the same thing about this. There is duplication of this, with this a little bit, with this. I mean, this one I wouldn't really count them because it's still essential. It's still technically the unique part of 132. But 156 a little bit, 166, then there's like 74, and then 165. You have duplication with like 1, 2, 3. Okay, this one, even if you don't count this one, 1, 2, 3. There is like no reason to keep 132. So what my friends proposed is that 132 after CJC, you terminate at Caldecott MRT. Okay, technically I suggested this, but then my friends have had other proposals. The first one is to send it to what do you call it? Just use Marymount Road and then Bishan Street 21. And then go inside. You can copy 410 if you will. It's like 12, 13, or even just Street 11 and then just Street 13 alone. Like follow 54 and 56. That's one idea. And obviously, the whole 132M concept, like as a school bus service, kind of like in the same fashion as 983M, you only run 132M in between Ang Mo Kio and CJC, unidirectional for morning peak hours. That's the only realistic solution if you still want the school bus from Ang Mo Kio to CJC, or whichever stop along Ang Mo Kio Avenue 3, depending on where the students live. I don't know if you can poll them or anything, but yeah. It's like you're not gonna be running a bus service just for one student, right? It has to be like a lot of them living in those areas. So yeah, Bishan is one suggestion. Terminating at Caldecott is like the most cost-effective suggestion. But then there is actually another one. Because as I have been saying, regardless of whether people actually listen or not, you never try to make a trunk eat up a feeder service. But in this context, it is okay. And the reason why it's okay is because this thing exists. This thing isn't going to be affected by external traffic. But if I extended 130 at 132, it is going to be it's going to be affected by external traffic, especially near Far East Plaza. So this only works because of the existence of 230M. But then again, I'm not asking you to like do all that stupid feeder bus integration and then, oh, I'm just going to retain the feeder bus services and then I'll call them M instead. No, I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just saying you do not do this kind of trunk eat feeder bus integration. But in this case, like usually, but in this case, you can do it because of the existence of 230M. I hope I made myself clear. I don't want to see people crayoning all the trunk services out of Tampines to eat up 291, 293 and East Loop and stuff like that. I don't want to see that. But in this case, it's actually possible. Caldecott, and then like this. Okay, I forgot how the loop looks like, but yeah, it's supposed to be like this, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, and you might be asking, isn't this technically a long loop service? Well, yes it is. And the thing is, I know some people are against it, but remember this thing exists. Remember this thing exists. Remember this thing exists. Remember these exist as well. And remember these exist. And this. Or whatever other like long loop bus service that you can think of. Because I definitely don't recall every single one of them off the top of my mind. I definitely don't. I'm not gonna pretend that I do. But yeah, remember this thing exists. So doing this is technically okay. Simply because you already have this bus service. Because merging different feeders to form one trunk service, that rarely works. And you can only do that when both feeders are really failing to the point whereby you have to like integrate both of them. Such as in the case of 294 and 357 to give them more connectivity, because those feeders they were not doing well and they decided to merge them into one trunk service. Only this works. And then I had other videos like in the past talking about making 966 go to Bukit Panjang, eating up 922 instead of going to Marsiling. But hey, if anybody at CJC, Jalan Eunos or Marine Parade, they live at Marsiling, they would definitely not be happy about this. So again, even this is risky, as much as I have talked about this before. But yeah, generally, you do not make trunk services eat up feeder bus services unless you have this kind of thing. But is there any benefit of this? I mean, well, right now they only have 143 from the town center. So everywhere else, you actually give them access to whatever I've just explained here. You give them access to this, downtown line, easier access to downtown line technically, to this, and this. These areas, they can now access Toa Payoh West and Toa Payoh East as well. Again, this only works because there is 230M. I have to keep reminding you about this. Do not commit feeder bus integration when, like for the sake of it, when the feeder services are already not broken. Don't fix them if they're not broken.